Hey, my Legion, how y'all doing today? Sometimes when you're trying to sleep and you can't really sleep, you start having ideas for a video. And this happened to me before, since I had the channel, and it drives you nuts. And you see how to have ideas, and you can't sleep, and then until you make a video about it. And this is what happened tonight. It's 5:29 in the morning. Well, I kind of went to bed kind of early, anyways. I want to do my personal history with like a. This is a personal favor of mine. As far in the world of comedy, in the comedy movies, like TV sketch comedy movies involving like different skits involving like a TV station, or like the thing would be like a TV. What happens if a TV station if censors take the day off from TV station or something like that with ruly or maybe politically incorrect TV, at least back then. And with that, including sketch comedy, I mean, I want to leave out like some of my Python. I have different sketches, but it's not revolving around a TV station or even Mr. Mike's Mondo video that was like done for a special. I mean, I don't really consider that one. Besides, I reviewed that already. Or the dirty joke ones, like "Can I do it till I need glasses?" or "If you don't stop it, you'll go blind." And both are both like they tell skits. They act out dirty jokes in different skits and stuff. But this basically revolves around like a TV station, like stuff like the Groove Tube or UHF or Kentucky Fried Movie. And speaking of Kentucky Fried Movie, I think that was my very first exposure to that. As a kid, really young, at the Yellow House, when I was really young, I remember seeing a commercial of Kentucky Fried Movie, and that was the one that had Rick Baker in a grill suit. I think it came out in '77. And I was seeing one of the guys, I remember seeing the commercial. I wanted to see it as a kid, but it was R-rated, and I didn't see it till years later. And there's two really dirty scenes that made it R-rated. So, I mean, my parents wouldn't let me see it as a kid. They were taking me as a kid. They were taking me out as soon as that one dirty scene happened. But there was a scene where a guy was doing the news. All of a sudden, this gorilla busts into the news station. That was a gorilla suit done by Rick Baker, who's probably the best at doing gorilla suits. I believe he won an Academy Award for Greystoke, Legend of Tarzan. That's a completely different movie than these. That was my first exposure to it. Yeah, I remember on regular TV there was Saturday Night Live that was regular sketch comedy, and then there was a Canadian show that used to play on NBC Friday nights called SCTV, and that was revolving around the TV station with stuff like that. I think that might have been my first exposure to with John Candy. That show was awesome. I love that show. That was a 10 out of 10. It wasn't a movie or nothing like that, but that was directed. And then the NBC ended up getting rid of that because it was costing them too much money. Because, like, Saturday Night Live was $150,000, right? And SCTV was $250,000 or more because it was more elaborate. It wasn't, like, done in, like, a real studio and stuff. Like, this was different. So I'm doing away with it, but SCTV was fantastic. I have some episodes of Shout Factory. And there's really, really earlier episodes that before it came to NBC that were really funny. I mean, they're harder to find. Those are really good ones. But, I mean, like I said, I knew about a handful of movies. I didn't see most until I got into Germany. And usually they would not play on regular TV, the Groove Tube, I heard about the Groove Tube, reading in like Uncle Bob, they showed an episode of the Groove Tube. The Groove Tube had a couple of dirty scenes in it. I didn't see a whole lot of it until I got into the Army. Because, I mean, just kind of tough to find. I mean, I remember, I can't remember it. I'm doing this all from memory. I think one of the very first ones I saw that did show on TV late night was Americathon. And that was on the CBS Late Night Movie. And that was one that Dave Letterman always did a joke about. Said the CBS late night movie is not a movie. And my one friend Jim Angelo said, yeah, he was right. But on Friday nights it was a movie. But usually it might be like the CBS late night movie might be an episode of Alice, or like end up being Silk Stockings or something like that. It'd be like 2 half-hour episodes, anything comprising 2 hours, you know. But they used to have on Friday nights they'd have like Alligator or they showed the original Hand of the Baskervilles, the black and white one on there, which was cool. Which was the very first movie we ever taped using a VCR, I believe. We first got a VCR. I mean, stuff like that. And Americathon was John Ritter starred in it. And I remember renting the video later in Fort Detrick, Maryland, years later. I mean, it was from '79. It wasn't the greatest movie. But that was PG rated, and it revolves around, like, same people did Tunnel Vision, which I didn't find out about 2 years later. And about, like, the United States is running out of money. And they put on a telethon to help raise money for whatever reason. And Meatloaf's in it. Jay Leno. It's very entertaining, but not really a great movie. They're talking about Ruth Busby, not Ruth Buzzy. Ruth Busby as that's the only one. If any critic ever talked about it, they talk about her playing a Vietnamese singer. They said she was very good at it, and that was about it. That's the only positive thing I heard about it. But I like the movie. I like trashy cinema. Christopher Sposen might probably like this video. So I remember that. I remember Canadian TV. Let me write down something. Make sure to remember this, because this is one I always forget about. Loose shoes. Okay. We used to watch TV upstairs. We didn't have cable for a while because it wouldn't come out in the country. It was still in the 80s and stuff like that. And then we moved to the place I'm at now. My dad had bought cable, and he said he bought all the major channels they had. He had like Encore, which was $1 a month. This is back in the good old days before digital cable ruined everything. HBO, Showtime, and Cinemax. They had something called the Movie Channel, but we never got. We didn't get that. And he said he might have been like $40 a month. And he said that was a great deal back then. I think this is back in the old days. Like now, it's digital cable. And now I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh yeah, we didn't have that. That was like our digital cable. That was like our cable back then. CTV, because they had like movies uncut at nighttime, and sometimes they were just regular movies, PG rated movies and stuff like that. But they were uncut, and sometimes they're R rated. And they showed another one of those movie type comedies called Pray TV. Now sometimes these would be like an outright look at like different TV sketches, you know, on the station. Sometimes there'd be like just the skits, and sometimes there'd be plot behind it, like Americathon. And this one had a plot behind it. Dabney Coleman was in it, and he had like this fledgling TV station, and he took it over and he said, "Why don't you make it all religious?" So it was like religious comedy bits in it, and Devo was in it, which I thought was really cool. And they played their I didn't know Devo did like their alternate thing, like War did something like with their name spelled backwards where they're unmasked. Devo did a version of the band that came out spelled Dove. And this was on, and they had I can't remember the song they did. I can't remember the song, but they were on there though. I thought that was really cool. And they're dressed in leisure suits and stuff like that. And sometimes they'd open up as their alternate band. I gotta look and see if there's more Dove stuff on YouTube. That'd be cool. And they might have the scene of that from Pray TV on there. Now Pray TV I really enjoyed. That was a lot of fun. That was a 10 out of 10. I mean, like Marathon, maybe 7 out of 10. And that's pushing it. It really wasn't that. I mean, but Pray TV is much better done. And that was the one I would have fell through the cracks. I would have never known about if it went on Canadian TV. Now and then we finally got Kentucky Fried Movie because I've always wanted to see it as a kid. And I mean, we had a video. I had VCR. We had VCR, and we rented movies. And it was from the same guys that did Airplane, like 3 years before. And I watched it with Dad, and I think Dad was pissed off because they had a scene of Catholic high school girls in trouble. And that was really, really, really filthy with lots and lots of nudity in graphic ways. You know, like Dad was shocked. He said, well, I'm going to said, boy, if I would bug them to drag me to that at the theater, they would have killed me. I mean, but that was really raunchy back then. I mean, you know, it's still pretty dirty. That's what got its R rating. There's a scene at the end that got an R rating. Aside from that, the other scenes they're funny. They're all funny. That might probably be one of the funniest of the bunch. Because most of the jokes land, you know. It starts off with, what's that? You know, it starts off with a little thing, Kentucky Fried Movie, and they have like a skit. It looks like the Woody Allen type opening at the beginning. A newscaster comes on saying, the popcorn you're eating has been pissed in, film at 11. And then it goes on the other skits. This one just has the skits without the story behind them and stuff. It is really funny. That's a full on 10 out of 10. It's a great movie. I mean, they have to have the dirty scene to get the R rating. Trying to think. And there's some movies I heard about that I always wanted to see, but I mean, I couldn't find them anywhere. Well, anyways, going to why I wanted the Army. Basic training never counted. You didn't really have any time to do anything. And then AIT, they had that one movie I heard about called Prime Time through Paragon Home Video. I remember renting it and watching it, and that was another one that said, what happens when Essentials decide to take a day off and stuff like that. And there's a scene where something happens and they end up rioting. I mean, I watched with some of the other guys and they hated it. And there's a scene where they riot in the streets and my one guy goes, yeah, right. And everyone says, well, yeah, this movie's stupid. It's so stupid. Primetime's really funny and it's on. Kind of liked it. And then I remember seeing it on YouTube. I watched it twice on YouTube. Now, I think Dad watched it a little bit. And it was cool. It had Fred Dryer in it before he got famous. Fred Dryer in it when he was still a football player before he had to show Hunter. He was on there in the small scene. War Notes. Some of them, they have some big stars. And that's a lot of fun. Primetime's a lot of fun. Low budget, but fun. And that's on YouTube. You should be able to find it on YouTube. And that was a 10 out of 10 on that one. I remember reviewing that. Then going to Germany. I think one of the very first things I saw whenever I used to go, you know, this is when I was stationed in the Army, we'd go to, I saw Army to go to Bremerhaven, you know, and there'd be buses go, because I was in a smaller thing, Garlstedt, which, I mean, there's like, every post, those posts are during like a self-contained city, and outside pretty much countryside. And then there'd be, I mean, well, Garlstedt had a bunch of places outside, which was nice. Bremerhaven, and kind of not so much, but Bremerhaven was huge. And there'd be buses that would take you, like these school buses that take you from there to Bremerhaven and back, and which was cool. And Bremerhaven had the bigger PX, but it was like a mall where, yeah, it was pretty nice. I remember going to Bremerhaven to the library, and you could rent either one or two movies, I can't remember. I remember seeing Mondo Cane there, and I was really excited to rent that. That was definitely not a comedy. I remember seeing The Groove Tube. That's another one I heard about that's pretty famous from the early 70s. That pretty dirty. And that was Chevy Chase's movie before. That might have been Chase's first experience. He was in like 2 small scenes in it before he got Saturday Night Live. That shows how long ago this was. And that's a very entertaining movie. And there's a scene that got an R rating that someone said it was like, they were surprised they didn't get an X rating. It was like they had a thing for VD. And there's a little guy talking, there's a guy talking, and basically was a guy's generals. They must have filmed it, I don't know, they put a thing, and you know, it's a pretty hardcore shot. And it's probably to get X rated. That was really funny. And that's a very good movie. That's a lot of fun. That's back in like the trippy days. That was like '74 that they filmed that. That's a really good one. That was a 10 out of 10 on that one. Well, yeah, 10 out of 10. Trying to think what else happened. And then some movies I found out just by accident. And this is whenever we originally got a VCR, a lot of times they'd have movies like when ET came out, to buy the VHS for like $300. Like, that's insane. So we never did that, you know. And this is back when they started to sell VHS tapes at more affordable prices, and then bargain basement probably like $5-6. And there was some through Video Treasures and stuff. And in one movie I found out completely by accident, like something that's like this, with a movie called American Tickler, which is a terrible title. And it's directed by ex-porno star porno director Chuck Vincent, because he went on to direct regular movies like Hollywood Hot Tubs. I think he did that. And this one was okay. Had Joe Piscopo was in it. It was all right. It had that guy who played Ralphus on Bloodsucking Freaks. He was in it too, and it was okay. It was an all right one. But I found out about it just by accident. That was like more of like a. I was kind of when I saw it, I was kind of disappointed. Maybe a 5 out of 10. It's only okay. And then there was another one I found out just by accident. That came out through Prism, the 6 o'clock news. And that was kind of repetitive about this, you know, it had no story behind it, just commercials and stuff. Revolved around this big long newscast, different segments, sports, you know, weather and stuff like that. And some of it was just kind of repetitive. And including the thing about worm eating. And it said we're at the exciting state of Maine. I remember watching with my friend Jeff Moscone. He says, he's from Maine. He goes, the exciting state of Maine. He thought that was funny. And that's a very entertaining movie, but very repetitive. I give that maybe a 9 out of 10. And that had Wayne Knight in it. And that got a lot of good reviews, but even from Prism Home Video, if you remember that one. And then that was the same time one of the bigger movies came out, UHF, the Weird Al Yankovic movie. And that was a really great one. I love that one a lot. That ended up being a huge flop, but I love the movie. I had it. They really advertised the hell of that on like Entertainment Tonight and stuff on AFN. And they played in the theater, but I didn't have a chance to see it. I had to work, or I would have wanted to see it in the theater. And I love that movie. That's a lot of fun. That was a 10 out of 10. Also, one I forgot to mention, they had that. One of the first things I did, you know, was get a VCR and TV, my own TV when I was in Germany. And they had this place that rented videotapes in the PX. And they had the other John Landis movie that they reviewed on Siskel and Ebert. I forgot about that before I went to the Army, called Amazon Women on the Moon. It was kind of like a sequel of sorts. I don't know, I guess it's like a sequel to Kentucky Fried Movie. I remember talking to my friend. I love Kentucky Fried Movie. And my friend said, I remember Ag said, I will never ever watch a movie called Kentucky Fried Movie. I'll never watch a movie called Kentucky. Like, Jesus Christ, don't be such a cinema snob. And once the guy saw that, cinema snobs. You know, like good cinema, like that. And if they saw it, they'd probably be laughing their asses off because it's really funny. Well, anyways, Amazon Women on the Moon is very entertaining too, and that was I think Universal put that one out. That's really funny too. That's a great one. That's a 10 out of 10. And there's a scene with Judy Landers. That's probably what got its R rating, was she was completely nude throughout the whole 3-4 minutes, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know. I mean, it was done. It wasn't. Well, she was completely naked, but it wasn't like. It was done a little more tastefully than like in Kentucky Fried Movie or some from Groove Tube or something like that. And that was that one. Trying to think. I think that was it for that. And then I went on the Fort. It was Fort Bragg after Germany. I'm trying to think. Well, I saw most of these when I was in the Army. like you said, it's a very niche um, film genre. I mean, in comedy, but I love it. And I remember renting, like I mentioned that for in the Dolomite review, which hadn't posted yet. I remember getting renting a something called Best of Sex and Violence, and I can't remember what section was that. Through Wizard Video, Charles Band did it, and a bunch of trailers for his movies from Wizard Video, just like Zombie-thon was. That's kind of a ripoff to video too, movie too. But I like the vignettes. And they have a movie called Tunnel Vision, and that was one for Neil Israel and Pat Proft, who did Americathon. I never heard of this one, and it's like government talking about like, oh, no censors for a TV or something like that. And I said I want to see this, and it took a while for me to find it. It was tough to find. And like I said, saw it by accident. And then another one I really saw by accident. There was a little pawn shop that had that rented videos for a while, and this was like, I mean, they have a huge selection. I had small, but the video round was like 50 cents, where everyone else was like $1 or 2 or 3 for new releases. And they had a movie called Loose Shoes there, which was also known as Coming Attractions. They had Bill Murray, and it was a bunch of like trailers for movies and TV shows, and that one's really good. That one's a harder one to remember, but it's really good. They have a very memorable song. At the end, they do like I don't know, like a show tune goes, guy singing tight pussy, loose shoes, and a warm place to shit. Tight pussy, tight pussy, loose shoes, and a warm place to shit. And that's pretty memorable. And then Bill Murray was in there as a prison inmate. He was bitching about the food. That was pretty good. It's a harder film to describe, but it fits in that genre. And that's the one I keep forgetting about, Loose Shoes. Yeah, it was a 9 out of 10. I really liked it. Let me think. And then there's one I heard about, but I never saw. I mentioned like Kentucky Fried Movie and Groove Tube being dirty in some scenes to get a star rating or almost an X rating. This one was dirty all the way through, pretty much. It was. There's one other one I should mention too, but I forgot. I'll go back to that. The Boob Tube. And that revolves around this pretty much a whole soap opera type thing with a couple of commercial interludes in it. Really low budget. I got that at Family Dollar of all places. And that's pretty much the whole thing. That soap opera is almost all a whole sex scene. It gets really raunchy. I remember watching my buddy Hoppy. He said he liked it. He said, boy, it's pretty dirty for, and I don't, that must have been like in the 70s too. This is probably the lowest budgeted of all of them. Well, American Tickler might have been lower budgeted. And it was really good. I liked it. I give that 10 out of 10. I watched it with my dad. My dad liked it too. He said, where the hell did you find this movie? And it said Family Dollar. Family Dollar? Yeah. But that was cool. They had that movie, and they had Death Race 2000. And it was released for another company. What was it, United or something like that? That released. I didn't think that Death Race 2000 was like a public domain movie, but released on another video channel. So I'm getting those two movies. I think it was like $10 for both those. It was the expense for Family Dollar. But I mean, that was the very first time ever finding about Family Dollar was in Fort Bragg. I forgot to mention when I was in Germany, there was also a movie called Video Vixens, released by Troma, and that was a really low budget one, raunchy one. That was pretty dirty, and it was about the Porno Film Awards. And this one guy, he owns a TV station. This is what I forgot about it. He said, and this one had like a plot behind it too. He said, I don't know, this TV station is going to crap and stuff like that. I remember watching this with them, with Jeff Musco, and Colonel Buck Flower was in this movie. I watched it with them, and they both liked it. I had to fast forward a little bit with what my dad thought. But it was about the TV Porno Awards, right? And they decided to do like what AFN News does. It's a regular TV station, but decided to do Porno Awards. They hosted Guy, and that was pretty funny. And they showed like the award show. They showed like different clips. And it was all bogus clips and stuff like that, including like some dirty dirty TV commercials, like Minute Merkin. And umpire the thing helped clean up foul balls. And then I end up, what I did was I edited in a real porno scene and a scene of imminent porno. I fast forward that one. I was watching with Dad, though. And that was that was a 10 out of 10. I love Video Vixen. I almost forgot about that one. Let's see, in Fort Bragg, let's see what else there was. I think that was it. And then going on to Fort Detrick, Maryland. I believe that was it for Fort Bragg. Those two there. And then Fort Detrick, Maryland, they had a place, and finally they had television there, so I got television. Oh, and I mentioned the Weird Al with UHF, I did rent that when it came out on videotape in Germany, and that's a great one. That's a 10 out of 10, too. I love UHF. I remember buying it on DVD eventually. And Weird Al Yankovic, he was really good. Could they talk about, people did audio commentary talking about the fact, he talked about facts. He had so many facts about the movie, it was really interesting. And in Fort Detrick, Maryland, there was one place that had Kentucky Fried Movie. I was going to watch it to bring it in and see if, because Atkins was back there, said he never watched it. I was going to bring that in and say, hey, I got a movie, I wasn't saying what it was. See if he'd watch it. But I never rented it again because I didn't feel like it. But they had television there, and I watched that, and that was very entertaining. And there's a scene in there where they have a game show. It's Joe Flaherty and Betty Thomas, fortunately, got famous on Hill Street Blues when she's topless in that. And there's a scene where they're supposed to fart. And for whatever reason, they censored it. The fart was not in there. Eventually, I saw a scene that had the fart in it. I can't remember why it was not in there. Maybe the sound was off or didn't record or something like that. It was really weird. I eventually saw there was a scene where the fart was eventually in there on YouTube. So I saw that the complete. For whatever reason, it was not in there. They'd say you had to fart, and then they have and then it goes silent, and then yay, farted. And I don't know why. That was a really weird thing. But no, for the most part, they probably television had my favorite of all the comedy sketches in there, which I thought was hilarious. And it was for Midas Touch, it was a commercial, and Midas Touch, it says the self-cleaning detergent. I mean, it's something you could drink yourself. It's like a cleaning fluid you drink yourself, and then you touch something that comes clean. And it says, get Midas Touch today, and it says, warning, the Surgeon General said drink cleaning fluid to be hazardous to your health. That was so stupid. That's my favorite one. I remember showing it to my dad and laughing. My dad looked at me like, that's one funny. I thought it was hilarious. And it was kind of hard to find anyone after that. And then, whenever, getting out of the Army, I believe that was it. And then getting out of the Army, it's kind of hard to find it. And then we would do stuff. We'd go to the movies a lot until someone dinged up his van. And that last time we went there. We went to see Hearts of War. But we used to go to the drive-in theater. And the drive-in theater usually was a mixed bag, because usually the one movie we saw would be great and the other movie would suck. Because we went to see Encino Man, which I liked Encino Man. And then the second movie was Aliens 3, and Aliens 3 was awful. Or when we went to see Three Ninjas and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Loved Three Ninjas, hated Buffy the Vampire Slayer. John loved the movie. That's why I never watched the TV show. I heard the TV show is much better. But the best, and then we saw Mission Impossible, which sucked. And then Blown Away, which I hated that too. That sucked too. But probably the best double feature we saw was one of the TV sketch comedy ones that most people forget about, called Stay Tuned. I believe it was called Stay Tuned. And then the second one was Unforgiven. That was the Clint Eastwood movie. Now, Stay Tuned was about a couple. John Ritter, once again, and also the very sexy Pam Dauber. I always had a thing for Pam Dauber. You don't see her anymore. Because she was in Mork and Mindy. I always thought she was hot in Mork and Mindy. And then she was in a show called My Sister's Sandwich. I didn't really watch that much. I started watching it when it had on reruns on USA. I don't know if I was in the Army at the time when that was on or what. She was in that, and then she was in Stay Tuned. I never remember seeing her in anything else. I always thought she was very attractive. It was about this couple, her and John Ritter, who do a deal with the devil and buy like a cable system from hell. And they had shows like My Three Sons of Bitches and the David Dukes of Hazzard. And that was a very entertaining. And there was actually a scene where they get animated. And Chuck Jones actually, the famous Chuck Jones actor, directed. That's a great movie. That's a 10 out of 10. Most people don't even remember that movie. And that was pretty much it for this type of genre. They don't make movies like that anymore. And then I saw Troma had their own channel on YouTube. I think they still do. And I can't remember how I found out about this one. And this was the last one of these. They had something called Viewer Discretion is Advised. Which is like a TV station type thing. I didn't like I hated the way that they did the beginning and stuff. You know, it just was very clunky and stuff. And this one was only okay. Because some people said that they couldn't watch the whole thing and stuff like that. I thought it was all right. I eventually watched the whole thing, but it's very clunky. And sometimes it's tough to sit through the whole thing. But I hated how they did the whole beginning of it. I hated it. I only give it a 6 out of 10. But I did want to see it to be completed. I mean, there might be other ones, but I think that's all. They don't make movies like that anymore. I wish they would. Because they're funny. You know, I'm trying to think. Well, I guess. No, I take that back. Hollywood Shuffle. Robert Townsend. I barely remember Hollywood Shuffle. I remember renting that. My friend said, that's corny. And that was Robert Townsend. He did a thing. I forgot about that in AIT. Watching that one, they had stuff like Rambro. And they had Siskel and Ebert were talking about. They did a Siskel and Ebert segment called Sneaking In the Movies. Well, I mean, and then they say, we give this movie the finger. So I remember that one, but I barely remember it. Robert Townsend's one of his very first movies before he got famous, and he did it as an independent, and it did pretty well. Forgot about Hollywood Shuffle. And I think that's it, to my knowledge. There might be other ones, but, I mean, if I find out about any other ones, I definitely want to see them. They might be good, they might suck. Most of the ones I've seen were really good. But like I said, the way Viewer Discretion Advice started, just like, I didn't care for it. Well, I mean, it was okay, but it still wasn't that funny. So I hope you like this video, buddy. Till next time, there's a whole thing about it, so I can finally go back to bed. Ended up being 33 minutes, but that's alright. So until next time, bye, please. Take care, my Legion.